السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين وتابعين بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, today it is Sunday the 14th of Rabee-ul-Aakhir, 1445, and this matches the 29th of October 2023. This is our session number 23 regarding going through the book مختصر طريق الهجرتين وباب السعادتين by Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim عليه رحمة الله. 29, yes, October 29, yes. Today is October 29. And did they say 28? 23? MashaAllah. No. MashaAllah. Still living in the past, MashaAllah. Allah understand. طيب, so yesterday the last thing that we did was a principle that he gave us, the rule that he gave us. How would you know that if you are going through a trial, is it from the signs of your happiness and good end, or the sign of the opposite? If you are someone, when you go through a trial or a calamity, this brings you to Allah, makes you so close to Him, turning to Him, asking of Him, worshiping Him more, then that is. If it is the opposite, then that is a bad sign. Because he says, even if when the calamity goes away, you're just going to go back to your normal behavior and procedure that you were doing. It's not going to help you in any way. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Next, now he talks about قاعدة في مشاهد الناس في المعاصي والذنوب. This principle regarding the mashahid. Mashahid is the plural of mashhad. Mashhad is could mean what you sense and witness, and this is what he means here. What are your feelings? What you are going through when you commit a sin? It could mean also a scenery or a scene, right? And we could use it in that sense here. Like how do you see yourself when you go through a sin or a disobedience? So he is talking not about someone specific, but the different ways that different people view the sins, or witness and feel and sense the commission of sins. Now we've gone through this twice before. Once when we did الداء والدواء by Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim, the Sheikh Salih Al-Shami, Hafidhahullah, and may Allah relieve him from his distress, whatever calamity he's going through. He took it from another book, and he said, because الداء والدواء is dealing with the disease and the cure. The disease, which is the sins, and the cure, which is turning back to Allah, repentance and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've seen one brother, he called it the venom and the serum. Spider-Man stuff. Just trying to make it, more fun or something like that. So he said to complete, because Imam Al-Qayyim did not mention those scenes or these sceneries or those stations or feelings and sensations that the people go through while committing a sin. He didn't go through that in الداء والدواء. So the Sheikh said, and the book is dealing with ma'siyah and sins and, how to protect yourself from that. And so it was, to him, it was quite suitable that he will take that from the book and put it here and put it in this Ad-Da wa Dawa. So we did that with the Sheikh Salih al-Shami then we did that again when we did the summary of Madarij al-Salikin, the elixir. He went through some of these sensations or feelings or witnesses that he witnessed, things that he witnessed and feel, right? And now we are back again to this, doing مختصر طريق الهجرتين. Now, Al-Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim, here he says there are 8, but he only mentioned 7, 8 different witnesses or feelings or sensations, but he only mentioned 7 out of 8. In Madarij al-Salikin, he mentioned 13 different stations or 13 different feelings or sensations or scenes or witnesses that someone will go through and feel. And in there he said that this is a very important subject, right? You might not find it anywhere except in our other book we called طريق الهجرة, سفر الهجرتين, this one, right? Which we are doing the summary of it now. So inshallah you will see what he means by going through the details of how different people react, right, to committing sins. He said الناس في البلوى التي تجري عليهم أحكامها, that the people regarding the calamity which the rules of Allah, right, which will be executed upon them or into them, right? They will go through calamities, right? And then those calamities, Allah's rules, Allah's judgments, they will come to pass regarding them because of these things that they do. And what he means by balwa here, trials, he means the sins and disobediences. He said, بإرادتهم أو بإراداتهم وشهواتهم. Those trials that happen to them and the rulings that Allah's rules regarding them, Allah's judgments regarding them that will take place to them or in them because of what they have done, with their own will and with their own lusts and desires. So those things that happen, people do them with their own free will and based on their desires and lusts. That's why they do them. So they go through that trial of committing sins, and therefore Allah's judgments regarding them, punishments and like that, will take place, will be executed on them. They are actually, he says, in this regard, mutafawitun. They are upon various levels and degrees. بحسب شهودهم لأسبابها وغاياتها, according how much they feel and sense the causes, the causes of these trials, and the ends of these trials. They vary in this regard. أعظم تفاوت. They vary a lot, greatly. They're not the same. And you could go through a sin and somebody else goes through maybe the same sin, but the way this person feels and reacts and sees and views that sin is completely different from what the other person will view, feel, and sense. Why? According to how much they feel and witness the causes that led them to committing this and the ends that happened because of these sins. وجماع ذلك 8 مشاهد. To sum up this, right? This revolves around, or the total sceneries, total scenes in this regard are 8. As I mentioned, he mentioned only 7. طيب. مدارج السالكين he mentioned 13. طيب. أحدها, one of them, one of those يعني scenes or the way people feel and react, شهود السبب الموصل إليها, witnessing just the cause that led them to end up committing that action, which is a sin. والغاية المطلوبة منها فقط, and the end goal that is required from that sin, that commission of the sin. That's it. That's all they see. Right? That's all they see. So someone committing zina والعياذ بالله, right? He was in a situation, he's not married, he's not, he's and he got lured or seduced, or he liked somebody, and then therefore, he wants to fulfill that desire, and he went and then that's all he sees. Cause, right? And he fulfilled his lust. That's all he sees only. The Sheikh says, وَهُوَ شُهُودُ الْحَيَوَانَات. That's how the animals actually, that's what they sense and feel. Right? إِذْ لَا تَشْهَدُ إِلَّا طَرِيقَ قَضَاءِ وَطَرِهَا. The animals, they do not sense or feel except the way leading to fulfilling their desire. The animal, the lion is hungry, just chase some animal and eat, and that's it. Doesn't matter what this or no details. And the likes, every lust or desire. وبرد النفس بعد تناولها. So they only see the cause. I mean, in the case of a lion, hungry, chase some deer or whatever, eat it, and then the soul becomes cool, becomes satisfied. Bard, right? Bard here, coolness, meaning becoming comfortable and at ease, right? After achieving, after consuming, he ate, and that's it. It's done, right? Now, animals are animals, but then you have the subhanallah al-azim, the human animals, right? The defense minister of the Zionist, he described the Muslims in Gaza as human animals, right? But the human animals are the ones who are acting like animals, right? So who don't see except, kill and wipe out, destroy, and that's it. It doesn't matter, even thousands of babies, thousands of innocent people, it doesn't matter, just so this is the case. Some people, humans, but they will act like animals. As I said, they don't care where did the food come from, where did the earning come from. Is it a halal job? Is it a haram job? Is the meat, is it halal? Is it not halal? Is it just dead animal? It doesn't matter. They only see, I'm hungry, I want to eat, mission achieved. That's how they feel about their life. There are people who live their lives like that, like animals. Waliyadhu billah. We're talking about the sins, right? You see the animal, the lion chasing a deer, that's instinct that Allah created for them. It's not, you don't call it a sin, but for the humans, as he mentioned here, بِإِرَادَاتِهِمْ وَشَهَوَاتِهِمْ, they commit those actions by their own free wills and based on their own lusts and desires. Not like an animal whom Allah did not create anything for them like that. So that is the first type of people, how they sense themselves. And I think you've seen those people. There are so many of them who don't care about anything. No akhirah, no, they don't even make sense of why we are alive. How did we come here? What happens in the grave? They don't even pause a moment to think about what happens there. Right? They don't care, and to them it's just the same. They wash them and pray janaza for them and bury them, or they just cremate them and keep some ashes in a box, keep it in the living room, right? Their children's living room. They don't care what's happening after. المشهد الثاني, the second type of people, what do they witness? What do they see? How do they view themselves? من يشهد مع ذلك مجرد الحكم القدري وجريانه عليه. He only witnesses Allah's rules regarding qadr, the predestinational rules. Allah has a destiny, divine destiny, and it will take place. So they only witness the qadr, the destiny, and how the destiny is being executed to him, happening to him, being applied to himself. He only sees that. ولا يتجاوز شهوده ذلك أو ولا يجوز شهوده ذلك. His feelings and sensing does not pass beyond that. He only sees that the creator, this is what he, right, destined for him, and therefore he is just destiny is being applied in him. That's what they see. وربما رأى أن الحقيقة هي توفية هذا المشهد حقه. He might even see or view it to be that the reality, the real thing, right, is actually fulfilling this view, this scenery, this feeling and sensation. You have to fulfill it its due right. You will go to the full maximum. He said, ولا يتم له ذلك إلا بالفناء عن شهود فعله هو جملة. This, now he feels that he will not be able to achieve this, right? That there is divine destiny has to be fulfilled, right? He does not see this to be fulfilled completely except by vanishing, فناء, vanishing from even witnessing his own action in totality. In a way, how? فيشهد الفاعل فيه غيره والمحرك له سواه. So what he would feel now, that the doer of the action is other than him, and the one that is motivating him, that is putting him to do the work, is other than him himself. He's not the one doing the action. فلا ينسب إلى نفسه فعلا. He doesn't attribute to himself any action. ولا يرى لها إساءة. He doesn't view himself to be committing a sin, an evil. ويزعم أن هذا هو التحقيق والتوحيد. He would claim that this is now the being in the utmost way of verified position of عقيدة. I'm being a firm believer of the divine destiny, and he is fulfilling at-tawheed, the unification of Allah, in the fullest sense. That there is no one who is creating, no one who is doing anything except Allah. To a point that I'm not the one doing it. I'm just being, as if being played to do it. You know how you push a button and the thing starts working, right? He views himself like that. He's just executing the qadr. He doesn't have a will, right? That's how he will think. كما قال قائلهم في هذا المعنى, as one of their sayers, those who believe in this type of belief, one of them said, capturing or giving us this meaning, he said, أصبحت منفعلا لما يختاره مني ففعلي كله طاعات. He said that I became spontaneously yielding, right? Yielding, يعني performing actions that are chosen by him, by Allah, he claims. So my actions, all of them are acts of obediences, right? And unfortunately, we have within the non-Muslims who have this type of a belief, and unfortunately within the Muslims who were, affected by philosophy. This is what they confuse, and the topic was discussed before. They confuse between the legislation and the qadr, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited the commission of zina, right? Prohibited drinking intoxicants. So that is haram. And he gave us the choice not to do it. Right? He prohibited it for us. If someone commits a sin, wal'iyadhu billah, or even commits a good action, an obedience, that only happens by the will of Allah and within the kingdom of Allah. Right? So you cannot confuse both meanings. I remind you, Allah created Iblis, alayhi la'natullah, and Iblis is hated and his actions are hated. And we are told not to follow the footsteps of Iblis and not to be seduced by him. Right? So Allah, although he created Iblis and he created his descendants, he wants us to take them as enemies and stay away from them. Someone, he says, Allah created him, he made me follow him, so that must be something good. I'm just I'm applying the destiny of Allah, right? So he's going to steal. I gave you this example before. So Allah destined for me to steal, so I'm going to apply this destiny, stealing the bank or robbing the bank, and right? And it's not acceptable because they don't know the qadr. They don't know what Allah destined for them. Secondly, Allah prohibited stealing and robbing people. So but they confuse the two matters to a point that I mentioned to you, that supposedly Sufi sheikh who was told, don't you see what's happening, how they are murdering the Muslims and killing them, and there was a big fitna, a big chaos, right? Why don't you make dua for us so that Allah will relieve us from that? So his answer was that Allah has awliya, Allah has allies. If they ask him to do this, he will do it. If they ask him to do that, he will do it. If they ask him to do this and that, he will do it. To a point that he said, if they asked him not to establish the day of judgment, not to bring the day, he will not bring a day of judgment. And he's so arrogant like this, believing in his ideology, right? But worse than that is they asked him, so why don't they ask? If they can ask and their answer response for their dua is swift and immediate and quickly, why don't they ask? He said, لا يحبون ما لا يحب. They don't like what he doesn't like. So it's as if Allah loves for the Muslims to go through that, right? Allah, subhanallah, you see how, right? This is within those who attribute themselves to Islam. As for the non-Muslims that I mentioned to you yesterday, the Mushidayan and the folks like him, they say, I mean, those Palestinians, it just happened that they are to be killed, by us, right? But that's the will of God. That's how they that's how they explain it, right? Allah wants this, and I'm sure you have seen the clips of some of their twisted religious people, right? Not all of them are the same, but some of them they were saying even, oh, they're quoting from their books, kill the babies, no mercy, show no mercy. That's how they talk. And why? And they try to twist. That's again, that's what Allah wants. Allah likes that. Don't go against God. That's the will of God, right? This is the type of people. This is the type of people that they commit those sins and disobediences, and they don't even see themselves they have doing. They're just just executing what Allah wants from me, right? And I told you before that person who's telling it like a joke, but it's a joke that takes one outside of Islam, talking about the drugs. He's like a drug dealer. So is it halal or haram? He said, oh, if it's drugs, if it's halal, here we are consuming it. If it's haram, here we are burning it, right? And of course, right? They're playing, with, yani, they're playing with things. They know they're not sincere in what they're saying. Like that one who's saying, Allah destined for me to go and rob the bank. Here I am going to execute Allah's destiny. Allah prohibited the robbery. Allah prohibited killing. Allah prohibited, right, drugs, and so on and so forth. So those, you see this line of poetry here, أصبحت منفعلا لما يختاره مني. Right? I have become pliant. You know how you have the type of metals, iron, right? Pliable. You can flex. It's flexible, pliant. So he says about himself, munfa'ilan, I became pliable, I became pliant to whatever he wants from me. So my actions, all of them are acts of obedience. Whatever he does, well, I'm fulfilling the will of God. And imagine someone who's doing evil and horrible things, and this is how he feels. He feels that he is just executing what Allah wants from him. Right? Subhanallah al-Azim. Yani he will turn into yani, a lot of evil put together in him. And he will never stop to look at himself or review what he's doing, because that's what he's seeing. And he is worse than the first one, who is just like acting like an animal. Right? But at least he doesn't say, I'm a godly man. I'm doing what Allah wants. Subhanallah al-Azim. Right? Allah chose us, therefore we can do whatever we want. We have the right to exist. They don't have the right to exist. That land is not theirs in the first place. It's ours. We are the children of that. That's how they talk. المشهد الثالث, the third type of way of looking at sins and disobediences by some people, مشهد الفعل الكسبي القائم بالعبد فقط. Looking at it from the aspect of the action that is performed and that is earned by the person himself. That is maintained and sustained by the person himself, the action. He only sees himself the doer of the action. You see, the other one, he sees that he's just being yielding, yani he's just yani where the results of Allah wants, what Allah wants, are happening at his hands. This one now, he does not think about Allah at all. He only sees what he does. I am the doer. I am the performer. I am the one who, my, hands and my heart and my will and my intention are the ones who are effective in this universe. Without looking at the aspect where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's in full control. He doesn't look at that. Right? لا يشهد إلا صدوره عنه وقيامه به. He does not witness except the action emanating and springing and being initiated by him, صدوره عنه وقيامه به. The action being sustained and maintained and acted upon and being established by him and through him. That's what he sees. Right? If you believe you can do it, you can do it. Right? And sometimes they use this to encourage you to, right? They say if there is a will, there is a way. Huh? They encourage, right? If it's meant to encourage, maybe. But then if there is a will, there is a way. If there is a will and Allah did not give you ability, it will not happen. Right? And if you believe you can do it, you can do it. Right? You believe you can do it. You have the determination and the will. But where is the power? If Allah doesn't give you the power and ability, wallahi, it will not happen. It will not happen. Right? ولا يشهد مع ذلك مشيئة الرب له. He does not witness alongside with that the will of Allah for him to do or not to do. ولا جريان حكمه القدري به. He doesn't see, he doesn't sense and feel how Allah's predestinational rule, the rule of the qadr, how it is being executed in him. He doesn't view that. He doesn't see that. ولا عزة الرب تعالى في قضائه ونفوذ أمره. He doesn't see the might and power of the Lord تعالى in his decree, قضاء, destiny, and his command taking place and being executed. He does not see that. The execution of Allah's will سبحانه وتعالى and command. فهو لغيبته عن هذا المشهد وغلبة شهود المعصية والكسب على قلبه. Because he is absent-minded from this, from the viewing this, that Allah has all the power, and him witnessing himself committing the sin and earning it, performing it, this feeling is taking over his heart. Because of this, لا يعطي التوحيد حقه. This person is not giving the unification of Allah its due right. ولا الاستعانة بربه والاستغاثة به واللجأ إليه. He doesn't give the seeking of assistance through his Lord and seeking rescue from his Lord and turning for shelter and protection from his Lord. والافتقار والتضرع والابتهال حقه. He doesn't give him seeing how much he is in need, how much he is poor to Allah. He doesn't see the need for imploring, tadarru', imploring and invoking Allah wal-ibtihal. Right? He doesn't give ibtihal, being so close and asking and asking and asking Allah again, invoking and imploring him. Right? He doesn't give that its due right. بحيث يشهد سر قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, in a way that he will witness, right? If he is on the right course, he will witness what is in this hadith. سر قوله, the secret behind the statement of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, أعوذ برضاك من سخطك. I seek refuge with your pleasure from your wrath. وأعوذ بعفوك من عقوبتك. I seek refuge with your pardon from your punishment. وأعوذ بك منك. And I seek refuge with you from you. Right? This famous hadith in Sahih Muslim, the dua that is at the end of Salatul Witr. Right? This shows that everything is from Allah. But this person is just, focusing on what he is doing, and that the things are done by his ability and his will and the tools that Allah created for him. He's focusing on that. He is completely absent-minded from the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Ghallab, Allahu ghalibun ala amrih. He beats everybody. He is the compeller, qahhar. He subdues everybody. Everybody's intention and power and will, all of that is subdued by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he only sees himself performing the act and having the tools and the ability and the power. And that's the opposite of the other group. The other group is like, okay, all of what I'm doing is good because I'm just going with the will of Allah. Right? This one is opposite. He's absent-minded from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his ability and power in the universe. Right? He's only viewing himself. He thinks that he is a creator on his own, a doer on his own, someone who has a powerful will on his own, not linked to the will and the power of Allah, and that is very, very dangerous. Right? We will stop here, inshallah. Next week we will continue, inshallah, the other sceneries or the other stations, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا